So welcome to episode 13 of Korea Talk. This is almost China Talk. It'll be turning into China and other teams talk as China wins Worlds this year.
No.
Go LGD, go Acorn, go Flame.
Come
on, man.
Fuck
off. Go
views and your racism and anti-Korea speak. How dare you not
I love Acorn.
the best country in the world after North Korea.
Welcome to episode 13. We're going to talk about the gauntlet, and then I guess we're going to speculate on a few groups we find interesting. So we're going to start with the gauntlet and Najin's what the fuck was that? 2 games of Goong once again playing a champion, doing dick on it, and then you put in the substitutes and just like feed them to the wolves.
The very last game of the season that mattered for Worlds, they said yes, now we have to bring in our substitutes and carry this. It's too late, boys. It's too fucking late. Whatever. I mean, they still played on Goong. Goong had carry champions. I mean, he had LeBlanc for some. Why the fuck did they pick LeBlanc in game 1? It wasn't even a good matchup. Like LeBlanc's not even good into gameplaying because you can just it's gameplaying. It's broken, and TPM was really good on it. So I don't know. And then game 2 they put him Rice, which is also not. It's I don't know why Korea keeps trying Rice. It doesn't really work, guys.
Yeah. It feels like this kind of like regional obsession with the champion. Like, oh, maybe Rice is good now. Like, maybe Rice is good now. Like, is Rice good in this patch? Like, I think Rice is good in this patch, guys. Like. But because that was that point in season 4 where Korea discovered that Rise was good, way before anyone else did. But since then, stop trying this new Rise thing. You got nerfed. Deal with it, bitches.
It's the 6-month thing. It's gonna take them 6 months to realize. Oh right, Xerath is garbage. We should stop picking him. And then you still have that 1 or 2 people I can still play Xerath.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Xerath is still good, guys. I think you guys are really bad at Xerath, and I think I'm gonna show you how you play Xerath. Oh. I lost that game. I wonder why.
I went 5-0-5 and didn't die, and then I couldn't do anything because they got boots and they were able to avoid most of my damage. Whoops.
So I mean, there was a moment where Tank and Peanut came in, and I was like, "It's gonna happen! It's gonna happen! This is it! This is the moment that we've all been waiting for. This is the reverse or kill." This is going off, and then it just didn't happen. I was like, actually, this is... and then 10 minutes in, Peanut dies. I'm like, actually, let me just be real for him a second. That would never happen.
No.
When I saw them in, I was like, oh yeah, this is what we've been waiting for the entire. Oh no, it's not.
No, not now, not now.
That was really bad timing to try.
Oh wait, it's only they're down to they have to win every game, and they're putting in people that haven't played for 6 months professionally. 4 months, maybe 4 to 6 months.
They played that one game against IM.
Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh, Spain. Yeah, sorry.
But they've had so little time, and you're putting them in where it's like, well, boys, if you lose, it just means we're done for the year.
Yeah. When's Najin next gonna play? What? They have the preseason? That's in 3 months. That's oh, we can't not let them play for a match for a whole 4 months. So might as well give them 1 game, guys. Either the Najin coaches are totally checked out by that point and gone, we're done here. The season's over. There's no point playing anymore. Or they were so desperate in that moment.
I think they were.
Was so desperate just to get anything happening. And we're like, let's do it now. But if you were that desperate, why don't you do it at the start of the series or at the start of the season?
Well, if you watched Goong play Rise that second game, I would have been like, yeah, you're cut, fucker. Just take the uniform off and leave. We don't need you. We'll clean the house out and send the stuff to you priority.
That wasn't even Goong's worst performance. Najin did stand a chance of winning that game no matter what. There were legitimate games against SKT when he was playing against EasyMoon where Najin would have won if Goong wasn't shit. They would have absolutely won if he knew how to team fight. But he doesn't, so they lost. And then, but you don't sweep him in those games. SKT were like, oh, Fakey's not having a great day today, so we'll just get him out, get EasyMoon in, win the series. Boom. Series doesn't even mean anything to them at that point. Najin, it absolutely means everything possible. Don't even give the roster, give the entire season, like the actual full chance.
I'm surprised they put both in, but
I
for
actually
a
thought
second
only
I
Tank.
saw, I was like, oh yeah, here comes the reverse. Nope.
No, at that point, like, it's too late, boys. Like, it's fucking over. And then they didn't even try and change their big band, which was costing them a lot before. So, well, they put on different players, but still had all the same problems with big band. So what the fuck was gonna change?
They did ban Gangplank in game 2 and 3.
Yeah, of course.
They weren't cued off by that being brokenly OP by previously
They got
played.
that, but other than that,
They banned the Malphite, the real fucking issue here, though, did they?
Yeah, the Malphite.
Oh, 3 games in a row.
Like, I don't really know what happened to Korea, and they just decided that we can't deal with Malphite. But, like, they can't deal with Malphite, so just ban the Malphite, like...
Najin consecutive keeps losing to Malphite. It's a sad day. Five losses in a row to Malphite.
Like, Trace learned a new word, ban the new word, like...
Malphite.
Yeah.
Or Rock, maybe just as
It
Rock.
does sound quite a bit like Maokai.
Yeah, exactly, there was a moment...
We said
where
before
they
that you
What
should
are
pick
you
up
gonna play?
Malphite.
What are you going to play today, Trace? Solo queue. Maokai. Oh, you always play Maokai, mate. Come on, you must have something else. Maokai. No, come on, mate. Malphite.
Okay.
And he played it for like 2 days and was like, Malphite.
Then you like the Malphite.
But he's lost his ability to say Rumble now, so, like...
Well, that's good, because Rumble's not very strong anymore.
So what champions can you play, Trace? Maokai and Malphite. Anything else? Maokai. No, you used to play that robot guy with the flame top. Malphite. Like, what the fuck's wrong with him?
Then game.
What's wrong with him? He is about my age and still playing, and he clearly only has a few champions he can play.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest issue.
He's had significant champion issues for literally since this entire season has occurred.
The first play was okay.
Yeah, I mean this past season, the summer one.
No, yeah, you still good.
It's like, oh boy, you have played 2 champions. Pretty much that's it.
So, like, I don't really understand like this series from Najin, because you know what, I had a lot of emotions going into this series. Like, I really did think it's gonna happen.
You
like,
wrote a super long article about it.
I stayed up all night. I wrote a 4,000-word article about the history of Najin White Shield going into the last gauntlet. As I was writing it, I was going, you know what, it was worse last year. Well, actually that's not true, because they made the finals that one time. But like, it was very similar last year. And Najin did it, and did it in such a dominant fashion. I was like, it's the same coaches. There's two of the players are the same. Like
the worst ones.
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, no. You know what? I actually reject that, because Zephyr was the worst player on Najin White Shield.
Yeah, I talk about this lineup now, right?
Oh yeah. But like, Goong was legitimately good in season 4, so it was good.
Sure.
His skill shots were like perfect. I don't know what happened to him, but his skill shots were legitimately perfect in season 4. But yeah, so I wrote a 4,000-word article. You should go read it. It's really good, I think, about the history of Najin White Shield and the history of this team that doesn't exist anymore, and like the problems it had as a roster, and how it, you know, sort of, and the overwhelming odds it faced going into that gauntlet. And I was like, you know what? Najin and Fire might be worse than Najin White Shield was in terms of what they've achieved as a team. But what they aren't is up against the best teams in the world. Because Jin Air and CJ Enters are not the best teams in the world. Now, I can handle maybe KT Ralston maybe being a top 5 team in the world. You know what? I could probably agree with that. Because the top 3 teams in the world are all Korean. Get over it, China. But I thought, you know what? They can do this. Like, there's no reason why they're going to lose to Jin Air. There's no reason why they're going to lose to fucking CJ Enters. And then and then what was that? What the fuck was that? Like, it was so disparaging to watch. Like, I lost my mind watching that series. Like, you know, it was worse than watching Najin White Shield get their head caved in by LMG. Because at least back then, I was like, well, actually, no, that was a really painful series to watch as well. So, like, I mean, like, but for me, as a long-time fan of Najin, like, I didn't understand it, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't like there was nothing to play for. There was everything to play for in this match. And then it was that last-minute switch to Peanut and like Tank. Like that was so late on that like it actually was harmful at that point. You know what I mean? Like I would have said that if you were going to switch those players like last minute, you should have done it at the start. You should have done it at the start because at least you give them a chance to adapt. Or you should have done it, you know, or you should have. I mean, to be honest with yourself, I could have told you should have done it at the start of summer. You know, I mean, I was telling you the entire time, Najin coaches. Thanks for listening to me. Finally, like, I just can't stress like what's going on in that Najin coaching because it's just dire. Because when you have that amount of talent on your roster and you can't make it work, like you just need to stop. Like just throw in the towel, quit. Like Vinyl Cat, you're shit. Just stop being a League of Legends coach. Reach. Like, I don't know what it is you're doing, mate, whether it's male modelling or what, but your coaching results lately haven't been fucking great, mate. So maybe go home, play some StarCraft Brood War, play a bit of Protoss, remember why it is always to play a video game and want to win it, then think about it again. And then maybe step down as head coach. Some fucker actually is pretty good at it.
Quite a bit of passion there.
I think we should move.
No, I can agree. Watching Najin from even the spring where they were changing players in and out constantly, and it was clear that was an issue. And then they go back to no, we're gonna just keep the same lineup for almost the entire season.
But then we realized that was a bigger issue.
Oh, well, that was also an issue. And then they come to the final, like they come to the finals, they get dumped on. They come to the regionals, and they go down 2-0, and they put in players that have seen almost no play. You can't look at that coaching staff and be like, man, they're doing a heck of a job. They're clearly know what they're doing.
Like, okay, so like another little rant here. Okay, so when we talked about the wild card match in the OGN playoffs when Najin played the Crew Tigers, and we spoke about the problems of a best of three and why it wasn't fair on Najin that it was a best of three because it didn't give them a chance to adapt to the cheese pit of Malphite. I'd just like to apologise to OGN and to Kesper for me questioning their wisdom of making that series a best of three. Because when you think about it, Najin have lost 5 games in a row to Malphite. If I lost 5 games in a row in solo queue to Malphite, I'd just start banning it. I'd start playing it. I'd start doing anything that avoids me playing against Malphite. You get PSTD at that point. Like, surely you can at least realise the mental fight. Even if you, hand on heart, don't believe that Malphite is a problematic pick for yourself. When you're down 4 games to a champion, you have to think, well, at least it's a mental issue. At least it's causing my players to tilt. So when I ban the Malphite, but because Najin showed that they were incapable of adapting to the Malphite in a best of 5, you know what? I don't question the OGN. I'd like to apologise to OGN, Kesper, Kim Jong-un, and everyone else affiliated with Korean esports for my lack of faith. Because let's be honest, if you don't have faith, then why the fuck are you here?
Life motto.
A lot of reasons.
Like, Najin coach, what are the 3 sins of coaching when you think about it? I'm going to think of them on the spot, so get ready here, boys. Number 1, bad pick and ban. In this day and age, there's no excuse for it. You can't say, oh, my players just don't follow my instructions. You're there. You're fucking telling them what to pick. If you got players who don't fucking listen to what you tell them to pick, sack them. They ain't worth your time. So that's number 1. Number 2, what is a sin of player coaching? When coaches fail to make correct roster decisions. Okay. Now, not only did Najin coaches make incorrect roster decisions, they made the worst possible roster decisions you can think of. Like, there's no decision worse than benching your 2 most veteran players in the biggest game of the year for 2 rookies who haven't played against League of Legends professionally for like 6 months' time. Because that game against Benny wasn't a professional game, let's be honest. It was a fucking shit show.
It was.
I think Peanut and Tank have a bright future ahead of them. I actually hope it's not on Najin, because you know what? Fuck that club. And their inability to play their good players. Because you've got one of the best top laners in Korea, a really promising young jungler, a mascot, that's Watch. A guy is like number 4 in solo queue, and we all know how hard Korean solo queue is, let's be honest, boys. A really promising Korean AD carry, probably the best AD carry in Korea, and a support player is like a bit alright. I'm not going to say much about Pure, because you know what, I watched like 20, 100 games with him, and I still don't have a strong opinion about him. How's that? How's that, Pure? So when you have that, like, just Duke and OQ should be able to carry you to Worlds. Like, just that talent there should be enough carry power to get you to Worlds. Never mind the rest of them, but you still can't even manage that, Najin. So, and the third big sin of coaching. The third big sin of coaching. So you've got incorrect pick and buns, roster decisions, and when your team fails to play as a team, and Najin spectacularly failed to play as a team in that series. Their shot calling was terrible. Their team fighting was horrendous. Their adaptation was terrible. Najin this whole year have really depended on win lane, win game. That's a show of a sign that you're not actually a good coach there, isn't it? Like, that's not actually Coach of the Year material, is it? Riot Games with fucking whatever his name is making Coach of the Year, Team Liquid shit.
It's sad that a team of streamers has better team play than...
Yeah. Like, fucking Anarchy spent the entire time streaming and fucking saying we're not actually just here to show entertaining games. At least they managed to team fight with some level of fucking coordination. Like, when you think about it, yeah, Jin Air were fucking at rock bottom going into this regionals. But you know what the coaches did? They sent them off to some fucking place away, and they brought them in. They made them do some intensive ass boot camp, and Jin Air improved like, bam. They got back. They looked the best we've ever seen Jin Air. Why can't Najin coaches do that? Why is that kind of thing? Why is that so much to ask of the coaches that I stick up for quite a fucking lot, actually? You know what? Fuck you, Najin. Fuck your coaches. I want serious changes brought into this team. I'm going to spend another minute of my time supporting them. Fuck this. Fuck this shit. I feel like I should just drop the mic and be like, I'm done.
Yeah, I would say Najin has shown the issues with your second point for over a year now, though. Even last year they had clear issues with keeping certain players in named Zephyr that should have been much more pushed to the side and said, hey buddy, it's time to go.
Yeah.
We've got a new player coming in. And they finally brought OQ in this year, and he's been doing well. Yes, he had rough times, but he did well. And then it's almost like they could do the same with another player.
But they didn't. But they didn't do that quickly. They didn't, like, you know, start the season like Zephyr never playing again. See you later, mate. Retired. In goes OQ. Zephyr had to fucking got like 20 games left.
I think he played more games than OQ, to be honest.
Yeah, like played like more games in the spring season than fucking OQ. Like, in what world would I have given Zephyr games? Like in the preseason, I was like, oh, it's just because Zephyr's going to retire soon. They want to give him his final couple of games, you know, blah blah blah. It's fine. And he's playing, and I'm like, why is he in spring? Like, why? Like inability to bench shit players for great players. That is fucking unexcusable shit right there. Like, fuck any part of Mew that thinks it's a bad idea to bench an incredible player, so to bench a shit player for an incredible player at the start of a fucking season, in pre-season. That's why nothing is on the line in pre-season. It's a fucking bunch of show matches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can't even say like, oh, these veterans are great for their shot calling, because Najin's had shit shot calling all year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had the veterans still left for the shot.
Their shot calling has looked worse than TSM's at times. That's fucking TSM. I can shot call better than fucking Bjergsen.
I don't know, man. I played games with you. You're pretty shit at that.
My shot calling is great, yeah. So fuck you.
Alright, let's just
My shot calling is usually pretty good, but I am hindered by being complete utter garbage at the game. So I kind of just like go to a lane and just push it up. I'm just like a super minion. I just push a lane and die, and then spawn and do it again as my team, as I can like, guys, they're moving over here, quick over there.
Don't reveal my strategies.
Alright, let's just go to Jin Air versus...
So yeah, I mean, the only really highlight I'd say is, holy shit, Gank by Mom's Gangplank was what won them a second series.
You know the upsetting part is Jin Air actually played really well. Like, Jin Air actually really showed up in this series. I actually think that Jin Air over this like, you know, gauntlet actually can go and really proud. The coaches can feel good about what they've achieved. Don't get me wrong, their roster's going to get butchered. You know, Chase is off to China. GBM's off to the West. He keeps talking about how he wants to play in the West. Like, I really want to play internationally. Means I really want to go fuck some fangirls. I'm sick of this Casper lifestyle. Jin Air, GBM tried to do that at the start of this season. Like, he's tried to leave Jin Air and go play international, and go play for a Western team, but he didn't get the Western offer he wanted, and then Fly left for China, and he was like, well, best we better go home then, and like it's like when you sneak out a night out, like here, I'm gonna sneak on a night out, like you leave like your little brother at home or something, and then you realise that your other sibling, like slightly younger than you, was sneaked off, and you're like, well, I better go have a babysit then, I don't know. Like, fuck's sake. Oh, fuck. Like, that was GBM's year right now. But he's gone home, he's legitimately proved he's great. He's off to the West. You got fucking Chase's off to China. The bag of money is probably already being shipped to him through FedEx. Thanks for FedEx. And Trace is off to the mental asylum.
Infirmary?
Yeah. Welcome.
And then maybe Pilot can go to CJ and solve the space problem.
No, there is no space problem in the eyes of CJ.
We'll get there, but yeah.
I think the players that Jin Air will manage to keep a hold of are should want to keep a hold of is really Pilot and Che. I think those are the two players that they will both manage to keep a hold of and will want to keep a hold of. But which is sad when you think about like GBM and Chase are leaving, but you can't imagine a scenario they stay. You know,
Fate.
Like GBM's a great player, and you know what? He's got a lot of fangirl fucking to do. So let him go to the West. And Chaser is a great jungler, and he's got a lot of money to make. So let him go to China. Like that's what I say.
No, we want to keep our last jungler. Fuck.
Last jungler. Yeah. I would say the only other surprising thing I saw in that series was the two Callistas that made it through, and how Jin Air clearly had a plan to fuck over OQ's Callista real early and set it behind.
That was
there was a game where OQ got Callista, and I was like, "Oh, we're done here, boys. We're done."
I find that ballsy, but that
and
early
work
pressure.
out.
That was great. I mean, because you could see OQ, even after the gank, he slowly started to create like a few CS lead and then keep it, but he wasn't able to like completely outbully the lane. He was able to, even after the first early kill, and then they dumped like a wave and a half of minions into the turret, he still was able to bully out the other lane. It shows how good he was on that champion. But then that game had other disappointments. But I don't know. I just wanted to highlight those things as we can move into CJ versus Jin Air, and Jin Air's first two wins, and then Jin Air trying to have Trace play Fizz.
It's like it's not in his vocabulary. Come on.
Apparently it is, but it's not quality vocabulary.
Whoa,
it's just
whoa. That's what he was trying to say.
Oh.
He was actually saying food, but the Jin Air coaches didn't quite hear him. He just kept saying, he's saying fizz, isn't he? Whoa.
Yeah.
I hate Trace.
So, yeah.
Sorry, I just want to say this. Trace, fuck you, man.
Wow, that's uncalled for. No, yeah.
And you say I'm the one that
I'm
hates
so angry
Korea.
right now. I've just remembered that whole series against Najin. I'm so angry right now. Like,
See, that's
I've
why
never been that angry watching a League of Legends
We have to
game
get
before.
that series out of our heads and just move on, and then we can.
It's not that easy for me. Where's my
It's not just
cigarette?
that. It's more than just the series, because the series is just an indictment of the entire year for Najin.
Yeah, that's true, of course.
Just utter disappointment when they should have been a dominant force.
Yep.
By all records, like by all numbers, and what you have, just if you just looked at them and go, oh yeah, they're gonna crush. Just the ineptitudes of what's occurred from the coaching staff and who they played and the ability to shot call.
Wait, I just want to cut. When I said the GBM should go to the West, Queen Elizabeth 420 in Twitch chat, I did not say that GBM should go to the West because it's an easier path to Worlds. Because you know what? Even if I do believe that, that was not my original point. I said he should go to the West to fuck fangirls.
Yeah, that's what you
what
said.
I said. So don't try and make my joke out to be some kind of like NA is shit statement. All right, even if that's what I believe, that's not the point of the joke right there. So Queen Elizabeth 420, mate. I did not say that going to Korea is going to be an easier road to Worlds for GBM, because I actually don't think that, because you know what? Like 1 of 14 Koreans or something ridiculous went to Worlds this year because North America can't play around good players. It just can't. So it might actually as well focus on actually having good bit team synergy and whatnot. Actually, you know what? Maybe I agree with that. I mean, it's funny how they all dominate in China, but they can't do anything in LA, isn't it? I wonder if that's to do with the coaching.
All teams have Koreans in China. Of course, Koreans are going to come out.
OMG don't, and they're shit.
Well, yeah. So talking about one team that didn't make it. Like,
so yeah,
I think the EU is probably, or I think the bigger, more Koreans are going to go to Europe than they go to North America this year.
Maybe.
I could see more of them going to, like, I could see GBM going to.
We'll do that later, because remember, I am the person who predicted the Great Korean Exodus, and therefore I will share my wisdom with the fans of this show about the movement of Koreans going into 2016. I have foreseen it. I have used my crystal glass of lemonade, and I have seen the future.
Okay. Yeah, so we can move into CJ officially, and the fact that
CJ
GBM couldn't, like, the Gangplank pick couldn't even carry CJ in the first game.
Yeah, but I was on Shy, and if you don't play a champion, you're not gonna get good on it. Okay, so yeah, Shy. He had one good champion this season. That was Shen, and that's it. And that's because he
looked okay on Shyvana sometimes. I mean, don't get me wrong, Smeb was a much better Shyvana. Like, there was a moment where Smeb like ripped him apart with Shyvana. I was like, oh yes, Smeb's actually much better than Shy. Woohoo!
If you're only player that plays a champion, you look good. Okay, that's true.
It's like that snapshot of a statement like Smeb is much better than Shy. You say that in 2012, people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Are you fucking retarded? Like now, like that's like legitimate truth. No one can dispute that.
Yeah. But
no, Shy didn't have a great series. I actually think Space had a fairly alright series though.
He got this champion, so all the long range stuff.
Yeah.
They went full TSM. It's just
for the two games they went. They just went, give him a champion that'll reset.
Well, let's be fair. Like, I don't even know what the hell Jin Air was trying to do in Game 3. They fucking picked Shoga mid. Like, that's been meta for like 6 months or something. I don't know. The whole pink ban was so weird in Game 3 or 4.
Game 3, I have no idea. In Game 4, it seemed like they were trying to do a less risky, let's see if we can bait a Fizz ban, but
yeah, but
it was just as bad.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it's still shit. I mean, I guess they kind of banked on the fact that they had the blind pick Gangplank already, and they were not afraid of CJ. To be fair, I mean, they went straight out without Fizz the first 2 games. So they were pretty confident they were going to win in blind pick as well when they get all their picks. But it's a bit weak experimentation trying, but whatever. Because Trace, just stick to the M champions, man. That's all you can do.
Sorry, Fizz doesn't have an M in its name, so you can't play it.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
Rumble has an M, Malphite has to have an M in the name, or else you can't play it.
Darius, Fiora, Mordekaiser.
He played some Morgana.
Wasn't bad.
He did Morgana top lane. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah.
He's really good at the champions that have M in their name. But I mean, yeah, it was pretty.
If you put an R next to an N, it kind of looks like an M. So that's worked for Rengar.
That's true.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the first 2 games, it was like, wow, Jin Air is for real. After we saw them 3-0 Najin come in 2-0, and it was like, holy crap, this is a really good team. And even I was like, I'm not going to watch next game. I'm going to put on China as I go to work. And I put on China and I watch the regionals. And then I flip back and I was like, what the fuck? They're down 0-2. And as I rewatched them, I was like, oh wow, Trace really can't play Fizz.
Surprise.
Like that series was actually kind of hard for me to watch because obviously I didn't switch to filthy Chinese League of Legends because I don't even watch.
I have 2 screens.
I mean, I have 2 screens as well, and I actually had it on the second screen. But anyway, actually, I was actually watching Gavon, so whatever. But I did it was actually hard for me to watch because when Jin Air were up 2-0, they looked great, and I was like, oh, maybe this Jin Air team can beat KT, might have a good series around the boys. Got this, and they went 0-2 down, and I was like, oh, Jin Air actually can't do this, can they? They actually can't do this. Like CJ figured something out about Jin Air in those.
I'm pretty sure Mako is up in Game 3 and stuff. I mean,
was he?
I'm pretty sure. Like
CJ took Maokai in Game 3.
It's okay.
They banned CJ banned Malphite, and they took Maokai second rotation.
Into the Fizz.
Yeah, they took Maokai into the Fizz, but at that point, Jin Air could have. It was arguable that Jin Air could have been picking Fizz to put what do you call GBM on it, because then Jin Air picked Rek'Sai and Sivir, which is like fine, but then CJ just picked Jinx and Diana. So like I think at that point Jin Air just kind of panic picked Cho'Gath because they were like, oh, we've got to have a counter pick for this Diana to stop Coco like going insane. So that means and Trace was like, and Trace kept saying food, so they or trying to say food anyway.
That's what I don't get, because Cho'Gath is actually not actually very good into Diana, because she doesn't care. I mean, she can just keep auto attacking with the passive. I'm
surprised they didn't like go Victor or like anything else.
Well, Diana is considered a counter pick to Victor though.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like,
I would say, but it may still be a counter pick, but I'd rather have
sure,
playing a champion that can do damage and he can utilize and has shown proficiency at over a Cho'Gath.
Yeah, like I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. That mid lane Cho'Gath thing has never been good. I'm sorry, whatever your West Door, or whatever your fucking name.
Against LeBlanc in the time.
Yeah, it was a counter pick against like
hyper niche,
a hyper niche against assassins. But the problem with it is that it's like so unreliable damage. So
I still think the issue is that you can, in a meta where Ashe can be played, I don't think you ever want to play Cho'Gath. The issue with Cho'Gath is unless you have fucking flash, it's really hard to hit the Q, and people just like attack you and walk backwards. It's like, well, what the fuck can I do, guys?
Yeah.
I'm big.
Yeah, the AD
he
carry.
works in chaotic team fights, but he's not that good. And also the teleport. Holy shit, the teleport mid lanes this year were ridiculous.
Also, who was Cho'Gath really going to knock up? Like, I mean, Jinx is like really long range, so Jinx can just dart around, and she gets a reset all the time. Diana, like, you're not really going to hit Diana with the knockup because of how much mobility she has. Because her mobility is actually like slightly ridiculous. It actually annoys me how much mobility Diana's got sometimes. Like Braum, woo, you hit Braum with the knockup. And then you hit like Maokai, okay, and then you hit Elise, so she just repels upwards. So who are Jin Air actually planning on knocking up with this Cho'Gath? You know what I mean?
I think they thought too hard on trying to counter the lane, and that's not always not what you should be doing.
So they revealed a fundamental weakness in Jin Air, which is what good coaching staff does. I mean, I'm not saying CJ have good coaching staff, but they at least have some coaching staff.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think CJ's issues, you can't put them. I mean, you can put them on the coaching staff for not replacing players, but the issues they have too are simply
they
like you can't go. Oh my God, why aren't they being able to do all these great crazy things in game? Why you can look at the team and go, wow, the limitations clearly exist on this. I mean, Goon can still play certain champions, and now I make fun of him because he's terrible at so many of the current meta champions. But if it was the assassins, I would still be like, okay, I could see him being played. But you have players like Space, who is just mediocre at best. It's kind of like, well, he didn't like completely throw the game himself, and they have players like Shy that don't seem to have any interest in the game anymore.
I will say this: since CJ stopped having their head coach, because there were 3 CJ coaches, their head coach no longer goes into the booth. There's now that guy with like not a lot of hair who goes into the booth. Like he's a bit skinnier than it. There's like the 2 fat coaches, I call them, like Fat Coach 1 and Fat Coach 2. There's like, and then there's the skinny guy with not a lot of hair, who looks clearly a little bit older than the 2 other guys. Maybe that's just because he hasn't got a lot of hair. You all know the one I'm talking about. I don't know Korean coaches' names. Sorry, I don't have access to that kind of information. Nor do I really care what their names are. But the bald, because I didn't think of nicknames for him. You see, so the bald guy.
Well, some of them don't have nicknames either. They don't have a gamer. Yeah.
So I make up nicknames for them. Bald coach. Their pick ban has actually improved. Has taken a level upwards, I think, since because there was a clear decision made by CJ coaching staff where head coach was like, I don't actually know what I'm doing about pick bans, so my job is just to keep Ambition's job. So, but I will CJ definitely showed their limitations. They definitely showed what made them strong as a team, i.e. they're good at team fighting, and I still think they are good at team fighting. But their weaknesses is like Ambition gets caught a lot. Their laning isn't very good. Space isn't really much of a carry player. Just focus Coco, and then if Coco can't carry, then you lose the game, kind of thing. But CJ did have they did have a legitimately decent adaptation in that game 3, really, where they did ban out Trace. It's not hard to do, but no one ever else fucking does it.
I would say for all the issues they have, for Jin Air's first pick, like the Jin Air banned Azir and Shen every single game, and it was obviously the right pick. And then they flexed between Diana, Lulu, and Elise. Who, oh, look at that, game 5 they played Shen, Elise, Azir.
Yeah.
Like the ban for a team that has such a hard time, I'd say, in pick and ban. Yes, they have a better pick and ban than quite a few teams in Korea.
Yeah.
It's really hard when your team can be banned out by banning Azir.
And I know
like so many teams now.
Just to put this out there, we're now on 20 viewers. 20 people are watching this show. Woo! Hype.
Go Labor Day.
We are moving up in the world, guys. We're moving up. We're coming for you, China Talk. Soon we will be the second the second League of Legends talk show. Wait, no, the third. I think there's that Riot one. And does Richard Lewis still do one? I don't know. But we'll be up there at least. Soon we will be
top 5.
Soon we will be top 5 China Talk. Soon it shall be us instead of you. So we won't be you fucking Now we're the cool hipster show, by the way. Before, China Talk was the cool hipster show. You want to learn about that interesting region which no one ever follows? You watch China Talk. Look how cool I am. I watch China Talk. I mean, I go to the library. I like art galleries. I like Chinese League of Legends. That's the kind of person well, now that's Korea. But that's why we are moving upwards in the world. So thank you to 20 views. Oh, we've dropped down to 19. Oh, it's fucking over now, guys. Like, I like how one person was like, I'm not letting go of this. Fuck.
I'm pretty sure.
Art galleries. Oh, no.
How dare you indicate to me that I am... Of course we're behind Summoning Insight Twitch chat. Of course we're behind Summoning Insight. Like, everyone's behind... I didn't mention it because it's a fucking given. Machiavelli, whatever your fucking name is. I've started talking to Twitch chat as well. That's how mental I've got. I've started communicating with the fucking... there's been episodes in the past where I didn't realise we had one, and now I've started communicating with it.
I wonder what's happened to you since Wednesday, like in the real world. You just like you'll go into a shop and try and like order lunch or something, and just like fucking go off about Najin with the Claire. And it's like, please, if you can have it for free, just take it, leave.
The cute girl that makes my breakfast sandwich has been really sick of me recently. Like, you're really bummed out. Don't talk to me.
Oh,
Crowd shot. We will talk about SKT at Worlds in next episode where we talk about Worlds. We might talk about SKT. We will talk about SKT best case group scenarios and worst case group scenarios. So that will happen. Right now, we're talking about that tournament that SKT didn't play in. So. But don't go anywhere because I want to go below 19 viewers. Stay here. Tell your friends.
As they were talking about the tournament or the mini tournament where a team not named SKT was able to win something in the past year in Korea.
Sorry.
But it doesn't really seem like there was much more to say. I mean, Jin Air clearly had a pattern to beat CJ in the first 2 games. CJ kind of, I would say, picked into that too with certain. Like they put Shy on Gangplank because they didn't ban it out and they knew they couldn't let it go. And then the mid Echo is pretty questionable by me, and I don't think Space is a great Callista, but they kind of had to pick it in order to force Pilot to not have it because it was banned. And then you had the next 2 games where you could see kind of Coco.
No, in game 3 they banned Callista. They banned the Gangplank, they banned the Malphite, and then they put Space on Jinx, which is like an old trick of Jinx, an old trick of Space. You know what I mean? Like it's like Old Faithful for Space. Like I'll pick Jinx, like, and no one else plays it, so I'm all right at it.
I just mean like the first 2 games you could see where Jin Air was strong, but kind of CJ let them in, and then you have the reverse where CJ kind of showed how they can win, and you had Jin Air kind of let them have it a bit with putting Trace on not M champions, the random ass fucking Cho'Gath pick, and
I see what you mean.
Continuing the Rise mid lane, which is not that great, but I guess it could potentially be a counter to Diana in a scenario. Like I don't really see, besides I can root her from far away so she can't auto attack me. I guess that helps.
She ults you and then she's
you have so much ramp up time compared to her, and she can just build one item and go, I'm gonna go into a different lane and push.
Yeah. And like
Rise doesn't work.
No, and like I will say this, like so in game 5 we had the glorious blind pick, it was great. What I will say is I don't think Jin Air would have won that blind pick game if Gangplank wasn't so ridiculous.
Oh no. Oh,
Like
no.
there was a point where like he did more damage than everyone else on the map combined, or something ridiculous. Like
As
it was
soon as that was over, the pictures on Twitter with that one barrel, like the 6,000-7,000 damage it did, it was just like how did this champion make it live with that? And the biggest issue, I think, me and Peter talked about this on Twitter, was that he does. If you look at the items he had, he didn't have armor pennant, like percentage armor pennant. Gangplank doesn't need to buy Last Whisper. His barrels basically go, I don't need that, so I get to build a 6th damage.
I like
they do true damage. True damage.
Yeah.
Like
pretty much. I mean, because it is 60% plus an extra bonus damage, so it's pretty much like shit. It's so much, and it applies sheen, applies crits, applies everything.
I'd rather, like, if you have that 60% armor pen, I'd rather get like a second Infinity Edge or a Bloodthirst or something else that's going to add more damage onto it instead of going, well, you know, I guess I could always add a little bit more percentage.
Spotted the SOAS fan.
It's just ridiculous.
It's
that you don't have to buy Last Whisper, which is a huge item which would reduce his damage. I wouldn't reduce it significantly, which he shouldn't have to lose so much because he's really, really squishy in this iteration of Gangplank.
You can't even properly play on how squishy he is because he's got mandarins, so he could just eat the mandarin.
And
then,
it's fine. It heals percent of missing health as well.
Yeah.
It's I know.
So if you burst him pretty hard and you don't have an Ignite or Grievous Wounds, which are slowly being taken out of the game, you have a huge heal.
Who still has Grievous Wounds these days? Fizz? That's it, I think. I'm not even sure he still has it.
This doesn't happen anymore.
Oh, then I really don't know.
MF doesn't have it.
No,
Tristan doesn't have it because they both got remade.
Yep.
You can still buy it on.
Yeah, but that item is so
Morello,
shit.
Only in Morello. Morello is the only thing.
Oh yeah.
The other item is gone as well.
Execution
No, it's gone. It's gone.
That's gone.
I tried buying it, but then it's gone.
I like the idea. You were like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy it. Oh, it's not there. Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
That shows how recently you tried to buy that item. Like, when was that going to take it away? Like, what the fuck?
I have no idea when it left the game actually.
It's like last time I tried to go into Woolworths in the UK. I was like, wait a minute, this shop doesn't exist anymore? Like, oh fuck, I tried to go into Rangers.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Morello and Ignite that still apply Grievous.
But no, yeah, it's 100% sure that without the pretty much Gangplank being clearly retardedly overpowered, they would not have won that. But then again, I don't think they would have been able to. I don't think they would have. I guess it's debatable. They probably still could have beaten Najin because of how bad Najin was.
They won 2 games without Gangplank. So
that Gangplank pick is just disgusting.
Yeah,
G-Bell was like really good at it.
Yeah.
So a cool shout out. I forgot to add this. The first 2 games, Chaser with the amazing early Banner of Command.
Oh yeah, that was.
Approve. I approve.
That's so good.
Banner of Command's a legit item. It actually annoys me that people haven't been building it all year because I actually think it's like legit, like a really good way of closing out the game. And
yeah,
it's like it's just like the only time like I would say you should really build both of them in a game because they're both that good. Peace sign. But like you can argue build Banner of Command if the team is not heavy like if you don't need the MR kind of thing for everyone. But we've seen teams not build either, so you know.
Yeah, no.
That's disgusting.
It's still a stupid required item, but at least you get to make a minion strong. But no, yeah, it's totally true. Without that pick, I don't see Jin Air beating CJ.
Which for me was the moment where I was like, oh, Jin Air can't actually beat KT Ralston now. Like it's actually a foregone conclusion. This series, like based on how.
I still think they would have taken game 3 and 4 more serious than Big Ben, but yeah, it could have.
That's true, but they could have taken the games more seriously and picked Bam. But the fact that when you watch Game 5 over again, you're like, wow, it really was so much on. Like Gangplank was able to deny and zone so many things, and so many objectives to slow their comp down. It was obvious that without that, I watching that, they maybe still could have beaten CJ, but watching those games, it was like there's no chance they can beat. No. Like when I put on Twitter, I was going to explain that I thought KT Jin Air would be 3-1 KT, 3-2 KT, one of those two, and the only chance Jin Air had to win was blind pick.
Yeah,
the only chance Jin Air had was winning 2 games somehow and then getting to blind. I don't think they could have won anything. They could not have won a 3rd game straight up pick ban. The only way they could have won that series was through blind pick Gangplank.
Yep.
Like, so in conclusion, CJ enters, like, for me in this series, displayed both their strengths and their weaknesses throughout, which is like they have an alright pick and ban sometimes. They're good at team fighting, Coco's great, but they're not great. They're not great
at
and they're not great at adapting to new champions because Shy was shit at Gangplank and Coco clearly couldn't play it. I mean, I don't blame Coco for not wanting to play Gangplank. You know, I don't blame him. He's like, he's quite a prideful guy. He's got a lot, he's got a lot riding on himself. He still sees himself as, I mean, there's a reason he stayed in career. He definitely got those Chinese offers. Especially, there was a point where Chinese coaches were like putting out a Weibo, like, oh, don't worry, we've already secured Coco. Like, so he clearly got those offers. Like, I think it was unlimited potential. Like, no, don't worry, we've got Coco. And he probably got the offer from QG, like, when they got into LPL. Like, oh, yeah, we've got this shitter called Doinby. If you want to replace him anytime, mate, I've got loads of money for you. And he's like your best mate. So we've got your best mate on the team as well. And he was like, no, fuck that. I want to stay on CJ. So legit respect to Coco throughout this year for sticking with CJ Entus.
That's
a worse man would have left.
You could see both sides, the best and the worst of Jin Air and CJ. I mean, Shy was able to play Maokai and Lulu, which he's been able to play the entire season, and he's neither of them are truly a carry. They're more, I'm going to support you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it went. And then we can.
The one thing I did find weird in this blind pick was why Trace didn't pick Malphite into Shen, because Malphite is actually like a really old school counter to Shen because of like. You know what I mean? Because it's like one of the. But I don't get why he didn't pick the Malphite in that blind pick. I mean, he picked Maokai, I guess, and it worked. But I just think it would have been a bit cleaner if he picked the Malphite. I'm not sure.
Well, see, what happened was in game 3 and 4, he was like, "I won't." He could say 2 words. He kept saying Malphite, and we're like, "Sorry, Trace, it's banned. You can't play that." So then game 5 came around, like, "Oh, Maokai." Like he's like, "I guess I have to pick it now." Like, no, Malphite's not banned anymore. Oh, Maokai.
Yeah. Fuck you, Trace. So we're well into the next series. KT versus Jin Air. But as we said, like
it's I watching the CJ Jin Air games. I was like, it's 3-1 KT or 3-2 KT. But the only possible chance Jin Air can win is through a 3-2.
Yeah. For sure.
And the one win I saw Jin Air get, I was like, that's exactly how I thought they have to do something kind of outlandish with the triple TP with the TF TP and TP top. They'd have to do something crazy like that.
They played it very well that game.
They did play it very well, but I didn't think they could do that 3 games.
Because then the other game they tried again with like the Nidalee and Maokai, but this time they got like totally destroyed.
Game 1 took way too long to end solely because KT couldn't really push in versus the amount of wave clear and engage they had. Like if they stepped too close, they could just be Malphite ulted into GBM's massive damage.
Yeah. Cogmore's great. Cogmore and Zero are good at sieging, but like you've got the Malphite and the Braum, which are like the great anti-siege champions because of how much you can just flank and like rip apart your whole team. So you had to be so careful with how they closed out that game. So like people might rag on KT and be like, oh, that shows weaknesses of KT. Well, no, because they still won the game. They still closed it out properly. But it's a difficult game to close out in that scenario.
It was an issue with the Someday pick too. I mean, he did very well on Fiora, but there's only so much you can do outside of team fights. You can split push all you want, but you still need to take turrets at the end of the game, unless you can bait them into objectives and force them, which they were able to do. But you really need to be more on top of dragons and barons as KT, which they weren't. That you could see that Jin Air knew they didn't have to go out of the base during any of the dragons because they had so many early, and they were able to get the barons before KT could really react. But
yeah,
that's just, I mean, that's an issue with the comp. They played it well, and it took a long time, but they did win. It just took longer than it normally should have because of the comp. I don't think that was too terrible for their looking at them and evaluating them, but it was just something like, wow, yeah, if you guys are going to pick that, you really need to be a lot, earlier, you need to be a lot more aggressive on warding dragon and going for dragon than you were.
I didn't really understand why Jin Air in game 2 banned out Fiora, because I don't think the Fiora was the problem with game 1 at all.
Oh, no.
So I don't really understand that adaptation. And Jin Air got punished for it when they first rotation picked Lulu. Why are people still doing that? First rotation picked Lulu, ban out Fiora, and then And then what? It gives KT like Elise and Azir. Like, okay, well this game's over, isn't it? Like,
yeah, some of the bans I was more surprised at. I'm surprised like Azir was not. Azir was allowed open in the first 2 games. It's just.
Yeah,
I mean, Kuro isn't, or Nagne isn't the greatest.
but he's a lot better on Azir than he is on Victor.
He's still good on Azir, yeah.
Yeah, he's solid this year.
Like he's not the super flashiest player, but he can still scale up hard enough that he can stand there and make zones and not let you get in.
It's very clear that Nagne understands what Azir is supposed to do, and understands the win conditions with Azir, and therefore executes it and has enough practice time with the champion to be able to play at a proficient level. So to make it so that you shouldn't leave the Azir open without because what is your counter pick against Azir in lane? He's so good in lane. So you pick like GBM's Orianna. Okay, that's not a good counter pick to the Azir.
No, and that patch, Azir is
They both just farmed.
Azir is hard to counter on that patch. That's
Yeah.
the problem. So you don't want to leave it open if the enemy can play it. Big issue that Jin Air had.
The ban was very suspicious. But I mean, I guess Jin Air had some wonky bans game 1 too. Like the Lulu over Azir is a bit puzzling. Because
Yeah.
I mean, Lulu is strong for certain comps, but Azir is very dominant.
Yeah, like I guess the issue is GBM can't play Azir, but then what you should have done is leave the Fiora open and ban the Azir. That would have been, and then first pick the Elise. That would have been a legitimately much better pick and ban strategy for Jin Air, I think, going into that series.
Yeah, I mean, after watching the CJ game, I didn't have much hope for Jin Air, but it just showed that they may have had a few things, but they had to show so much, and so much of it was just rehash of what they did, but a little better than what they did previous this season, but more refined.
Yeah, and like the Jin Air had the problem that you should have going into a gauntlet of you're up against an opponent that you don't know a lot about, and you've exposed everything because you've had to just play 2 best-of-5s. You know what I mean? Like there were multiple levels. Like not only were Jin Air not as deep as a team that can win the gauntlet should be in that situation. Because when you think about the team that won the gauntlet, Najin WTF, one of the ways they did it was through impeccable pick and ban phases. I'll talk about this in this article I'll release maybe like the day after tomorrow or whatever. It was like these impeccable pick and ban phases and the horrendous innovation they had of all these different picks and all these interesting ways to play the game and that kind of thing. Jin Air didn't have that kind of depth, so you can't go into the third series with that little depth and hope to kind of come on clean out. They
didn't have a first pick. They didn't have first item Lucian BT that just stunned the opponents.
Yeah.
With the ability to take turret shots while you're taking the turret and be like whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was. Watching the teams try to react to that in the series last year was just like they had no answer.
Yeah, they didn't have the AP Kale hyper carry top lane pick that came out of nowhere. They didn't have the Goong Zed that he just kind of brought back and was shown to be so incredible on it because he could just run around the mid game map and just wreck everyone, and he just wrecked lane with it with his perfect skill shots. They didn't have Watch going out of his mind on Lee Sin and Kha'Zix, you know what I mean. So there wasn't enough depth to the Jin Air team to
Jin Air had
that series.
few, yeah. They had some few tricks, but a lot of it was just to rehash what they'd done with Maokai before, except it was Malphite. And they clearly have limitations that showed why KT is going to Worlds and Jin Air is sitting at home.
Yeah.
Which, again, for Jin Air being this close to Worlds after only the 2nd year they've existed, and last year with the Stealths and the Falcons,
they were legitimately weren't even close.
They had one team that was like, well, I could see them making quarters every single season, making out of groups if they get a good group. Because back when you had the 4 groups that the top 2 went, depending on who they got in, they'd either make the group more difficult because of that, or I could see them getting out of the group. But that was getting out of the group and taking maybe a game was great season.
Yeah, but I think they've existed for 3 years because the first year they were in form, they came halfway through the season when they sponsored Hoon's Good Day and Eat Sleep Game. But they they clearly didn't have a lot of control over those teams because of how they worked. Because of you had Reaper and Hoon, who were very obviously the team captain of that team. I've already picked the players, so they were just sponsoring them, just trying to get a presence. That didn't work out well for them. Then Winter, they were trying to sort of phase those players. They were trying to phase those players out. They hadn't quite managed it yet. And then they'd already phased out Hoon because Hoon's trio had lost his OGN spot. Because you got to think about how the original OGN rosters worked was because the spot was owned by 3/5 of the players. Like that's how teams like KT Bullets managed to last a lot longer than they should have done. That Ryu, Score, and Mafa trio held onto that OGN spot, so they couldn't. Like KT coaches had limited ability to control the roster because it's like, well, you're not banning out our friends, like so you're not banning Insect. He's off. You're not getting rid of him. He's our mate. Like you're not banning me because I'm not going to let me. I own the OGN spot, so you can't just decide who's on the roster because the OGN spot's mine. So you saw as soon as KT Bullets didn't make it out of groups, that roster was gutted, kind of thing. Like, you know what I mean? They put Ryu in the jungle a bit and whatnot, but like that's what I mean. Jin Air, like as soon as they could get a hold of the roster, they made very good decisions and brought up a lot of talent. You know, you think Pilot, not Captain Jack, but like Chaser, Fly. A lot of these players really developed an awful lot on the Jin Air roster. From really players we didn't think anything about to like legitimately good Korean players under Jin Air. So I think Jin Air have a lot to be proud of as an organization.
Yeah. I think if this was the old where you had the 3 seasons with the group stages, I think you would have seen better results from them to the point where we see what they've been able to do now, where they've become an actual team.
Yeah.
But with that, I think they would have been a bit better. But from what they originally were and how they were. I mean, the Falcons are pretty much of a joke team the entire time they exist, but the Stealth you could see actual improvement. And then when you took the 2 rosters and took both parts and made it into one, you could see an improvement. And just for what they've been able to accomplish, it's pretty. Outside of the huge issues they've had, the clear issues, they've had some pretty positive issues.
It was good show.
Positive things over this past year. They just need to get a new top laner.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's a lot to say about like KT in this series because like they just kind of played like how they played, you know, for a while, and they just like they legitimately played well and they legitimately adapted and they took away like crucial picks and whatnot. But you know, I think that KT just kind of showed why they're like maybe the number 2 or number 3 seed team in Korea. I'll say number 2. I'll be charitable right now.
Like an hour before you said it was fucking cool.
I still think Ku may. Yeah. I don't know. I still think Ku is really good.
Yeah.
And that it's kind of it depends on the day, but I could see both of them fighting for number 2 spot.
I mean, if you're talking about like hierarchy in Korea, that's KT. Then you got like Ku and KT. Who knows? Like no one can definitively say KT are much better than Ku or Ku are much better than KT because of the how close they were, the 5-game series they had with each other. And then the fact that Ku Tigers went into that with a disadvantage because they had to play Najin and CJ beforehand. But KT did look really good in that series, so you can't. No one can definitively say like 100% like there's a clear 1, 2, 3. I think there's a clear like 1, 2, and then like you've got like Jin Air like here, and then like CJ and Najin like here. I would say.
Samsung somewhere.
Yeah,
Samsung's improved, but I think Samsung's in the same kind of boats Jin Air is, where they've shown decent improvement, but you can clearly see there's some positional lack.
Yeah.
There's clearly positions that should just be replaced, and that they'll probably be exciting to see next year if they
hold on to some players.
Yeah, hold on to players and
Fury.
Adjust for some better ones.
Wraith is good.
Yeah, Wraith.
So, we'll talk about the groups now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Guantlet was.
So I really don't give a shit about groups until I see them. I think speculating them is a bit difficult. I mean, I'll throw my thoughts out.
Fun,
but
man.
my issue with that is I've looked at like the thing, and it appears to be that the group draw is going to take place over 2 hours. How the fuck is a group draw going to last 2 hours unless the players are there to shit talk each other when they pick the groups, which I don't think is happening.
It should happen.
I have no idea how it's going to
We all know what the funniest group draw ever was, and that was the group draw for of 2014. That was funny as fuck. So I hope that
Chicago held the thing upside down.
Yeah, and most of these teams have a guy who could speak Korean, so you could just basically do the whole thing in Korean, really, and then just have the pain guy like Mordekaiser, where, and then roll credits, like That's how I would do it.
So are they actually all the players? Like a player represent is going to be there?
Well, no one knows, but if it's going to
like
last 12 hours.
I was assuming that it would be drawn from one of their LA offices because that's like the Riot HQ area.
To be honest.
And most of the teams are in China and Korea.
I actually think it's not a lot of public. I mean, they're going to do like some kind of PTL show about it, but I don't think actually players are going to be involved.
Yeah, I don't think players would be involved either. What I see happening is like they're going to show highlights of how each team got there for the first hour,
like that,
and then do a draw that takes an hour to do.
I mean, I'll tune in for it, but I'm not expecting it to be amazing. Okay.
No.
So,
what do you guys think? Where do we start? The groups we want to see, or the groups we don't want to see?
Well, what we should do is we should go down each team. So we should think of what their ultimate group that we want to see them play in. So try and reach a consensus as a panel of the ultimate SKT group, for example, and the worst case SKT group, and then do that for all three teams, and then we can kind of end the show, I guess. Is there anything else to talk about? I can't think of anything else really. So yeah, let's do that.
Not until the groups are actually drawn.
No, yeah, exactly. We're kind of in a point of status because we had the regionals. The regionals were the expected result. We've spoken in depth about Jin Air and CJ and Najin. KT played as we expected KT to play. So, and Ku weren't there and SKT weren't there. So,
That's very interesting. Yeah.
So, my choice for the best group SKT could get, because SKT are in Pool 1. So, SKT Pool 1. Pool 2 for SKT, for the best case scenario group they could have. For you're talking about entertaining as well. You got to remember, I want to say entertaining as fuck. So, I'm not just going to say, and then just Yoey Flash Wolves, H2K, and then Pain Gaming. Obviously, that's not, I want to see because I'm here to I'm here for a show as well. And I'm also not worried about any Korean team getting out of groups. Not a concern of mine at all.
My biggest concern is if H2K, or I'm sorry, if AHQ doesn't get a decent draw, they're probably not going to make it out. But I think that they're one of the Pool 2 teams that's not Korean, not Chinese, that has probably the best chance of making out of groups.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So, for entertainment value for SKT, you want to see, I would think, so SKT Pool 1, you want to see EDG in Pool 2.
Aichi, man. Kakao. And put Rio in with him. That's so hilarious.
Okay, so
H2K and Aichi and SKT just for the fun of.
No. Fnatic, IG, KT would be more fun, but it's Sam. You have the floor.
Okay. Well, right now we're talking about
SKT.
SKT as well. We'll get to KT later. So SKT Pool 1, EDG and what do you call them? AHQ for Pool 2, and then for Pool 3 Origin, because I think that would give you the most high octane games, the most.
Wow, that would be
sure.
That would 100% be the group of death.
That would be not only a group of death, that would be a fun as fuck group of death. Because while you'd be confident of SKT's ability to get out of it, you would not know out of IG, AHQ, and OG Origin, who is you think, IG would definitely be number 2, but then IG have issues. They have their own issues. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on IG, but they have issues. So, you definitely, that would be the group that would most, I think, bring headlines and big explosive games.
Didn't you say EDG?
Oh wait, yeah. So sorry, yeah. The someone spoke about IG and took me off. EDG, yeah, but EDG have their issues as well. So EDG, OG, AHQ, and SKT. Because you also got to remember, last year there was that thing with AHQ where they took a game off EDG. Now, granted, AHQ played out their minds and EDG really shit the bed, but there's still a bit of rivalry going on there. You know what I mean? That
would be cool.
AHQ now have an improved roster. They're not coming in as from a joke region. They're coming in from a legitimately strong region that is objectively the 3rd strongest region.
Yeah. Thank God they were able to get away from GPL.
Yeah. I love that analogy where it compares it to on somebody inside where they compared it to the wall in Game of Thrones. So the Taiwanese have crossed over the wall and fuck the wildlings behind the wall, fuck those gorilla pigs. But no, so I think that would give you the most the biggest blood sport, the most entertaining group you can get out of SKT right now. SKT, EDG, AHQ, and OG would give you bang. Like, I really don't want to see SKT versus Pain. I really don't want to see it. Like, just don't. Like, if I have to watch Pain at Worlds, or if I have to watch Bangkok Titans at Worlds, I want to see them in like a really weak group where my ideal is all the strong teams in one group and all the weak teams in one group to give me the most entertaining group stage games. Now maybe that's slightly short-sighted because that won't give me the most entertaining quarters and semis, but when you're just talking about the group stage, because for me the groups are one of the most enjoyable parts of the world. That's when you see the most teams play. Yeah. So side note, fuck Riot for only having 4 groups and not having 2 massive groups where all the teams play like 4 games over against each other in 2 giant groups, and it goes on for like 2 weeks. So fuck Riot for that one. I think the international groups were a lot better for that.
Biggest issue with what you're saying is that you could have the strong groups, and it would probably be worse for the later stages, at least for quarterfinals. But you would definitely have much more fun when it comes to the actual group stage, but because of how the teams are set up, you're not going to have you're going to have maybe one group that's exciting. Like last year we had one group that was really, I would say, actually competitive for the first couple days until LMQ just dropped like a lead balloon. But it's very difficult to get a full group of 4 teams that are all competitive.
No, I think that's the closest you can get to it though.
I would say the largest issue is the pool 3. Pool 3 is just, I would rather see Snake and QG. You may not like China, but I'd rather see.
Yeah, I'd rather see that.
My issue with Jin Air is still watching them through regionals. I still think they have. You could see the potential they had, but you could still see the Trace was significant weight to them, and that they played around it very well. But you could still see that the fact that he had limited champion pool, but they were able to play with it.
Yeah,
but I think we can all agree that Pool 3, Origin, whatever team Origin is, you drew the shittiest draw for Pool 3 because they are the most competitive Pool 3 team.
No, they've seen this
only competitive pool.
Yeah, they're
the team that's most likely to take a game off you when you least need it to. You know what I mean? Like they're going to go in, some serious haymakers. You know what I mean? Like. That's the team. Like there's so much veteran talent, quite a lot of talent on that roster to begin with. I mean, I keep calling them European OMG, except they're actually like better than. Well, I don't know if they're better than OMG, but they actually made it to Worlds and actually decent. So
I think they have less. Surprisingly, they have less issues.
Yeah, they have less.
Which I would say is a surprising thing considering who the fuck is on that team.
Yeah. I mean, the players don't hate each other on OG, so that's an issue they have. That's an advantage they have over OMG. But yeah, I think that would give you the most like fun matches you'd see out of SKT, because SKT are probably going to win their group anyway, unless they have some weird Samsung White-esque meltdown in the group. Ozone, sorry, meltdown.
That's not going to happen.
No, and so
I think the Ozone was really, once it happened, you could just see like every other Korean team going, "We can't fucking be that team." Like if a second one happens, holy shit, are the fans going to tear them apart?
It's also that. Ozone had a really fucking
Dottie's
tough group in Season 3.
Dottie's career has been torn apart because of that.
Yeah, like the worst part is anyone who
it doesn't matter what he's done since then or what before that. That is the defining thing that people will truly remember. Is that his team shit the bed right there.
Yeah, I mean he's the most domestically successful Korean player ever, and yet all people bang on about is his fucking
the one world.
In 2014, he made 3 OGN finals. Who's ever done that? He made all 3 finals on 2 different teams. No one, but Western fans always go, "Yeah, but you remember when ManCloud killed him in the mid lane?" Like, all right, like fucking hell, ManCloud can't even get to LCS. Who's the fucking better player now? Like, fuck, it's ridiculous. Anyway, so that would be the most boring group you could get at SKT would be like SKT, TSM. I mean, it'd be fun for me, but
Flash Wolves and Bangkok Titans.
Yeah, that would be fucking dire as shit. So
that's horrible.
There are so many group matchups that I would say are just like depressingly fucking terrible.
The worst part about that group is that is legitimately TSM or Yoi Flash Wolves making out groups in that scenario. Then
yeah,
that's fucking depressing as shit, isn't it? The thought of one of them getting out groups. Especially with recently I've been watching a lot of Taiwanese League of Legends. I'm actually planning on in 2016 becoming something of like a Taiwanese kind of Like I'm going to become like the you know how those people in 2014 started watching Brazil for reasons I still don't understand and they could talk about. I'm going to be like that for 2016. Enjoy. I'm going to start a new show. It's going to be called Taiwan Talk. I'm going to get that Clement Chu guy on. I like him. Yeah, I like the cut of his jib. But like Yoey Flashwolves have got a lot of issues. Steak is terrible. If you think Trace is a bad player, Steak can't even talk. That's how bad. He can't even say. Like the guy looks like. Not only does the guy look like Skara, he plays like Skara too. He's fucking shit.
Hey, that Skara reflection was super depressing when he was talking about that.
Like if you're a TSM fan, like that's the ideal group for you. Like
the group you're gonna cream your pants at is China or Korea 1, U2, Flash Wolves, and not Origin. Because if Origin is in that group, I still see them. That's a chance Origin gets out of groups. Like I could see Origin beating Flash Wolves and TSM and making second place in a group.
Yeah. Origin is way better than both. That's easy.
Also, I want to throw up a huge disclaimer that I forgot to do. We have no fucking idea what the patch is, so this is like current patch knowledge. So if we do become famous and people go back in the VODs and pull these things like, oh look at this idiot, it's so hard to choose because to really say things about the current metagame, but just from how they've played and how they've adapted, I think Origin has a deep enough champion pool that doesn't fucking matter what meta, what changes happen, what new champions they put in, they'll be good enough to adjust.
There's too much veterans on that team to be thrown off by like a patch or something like that. Soaz and Peke have remained like relevant at least. Like they've had low points. I guess Peke's low point was the regionals that they just played. Has been like really this split. And Soaz's low point was Worlds last year. So weirdly, they've had highs at the same time, but the lows have definitely been at different times, which is why they've always been able to remain relevant, at least in their region, and somewhat internationally. They had a decent showing at Worlds. I still think Fnatic, were okay at last Worlds. Weren't as bad as Elements, for example, who really had a group gifted to them and fucked it up.
That's true.
Yep.
So like you look at the group Fnatic had last time, the group Elements had. It's like, well, I know which one of you was actually before Better Worlds. Like you both didn't make it out, but at least Fnatic had a go until their game off a top Korean team wasn't in vain. Like they just had a really shit game against OMG, who were actually a pretty decent team at that tournament. So they made semis at least. They had 2 semi-finalists in their group. Like how can you? And and Elements had 2 quarterfinalists. Like it's no fucking wonder. Like Fnatic had a rough time. So that for me would be the legitimate like kind of nightmare scenario for SKT would be if they had a really boring group that saw a shit team get out.
See, I'd still if it was SKT, TSM, Flash Wolves, and Origin, I'd actually be pretty excited about their group because SKT would shit stomp everyone.
Yeah,
but the interesting thing would be who gets second. Because that would be really up for grabs.
But the nightmare is when
it would still be fucking boring.
The nightmare is when Bangkok Titan and Pain get in that group, or Cloud9. Well, no, Cloud9 can't because they're North American. But the 2 teams that really shouldn't be at Worlds, but are because of the way that regional representation works. Again, I'd like to point out I'm not against regional representation. I think it's good. I am. I think that it's fine that these wildcard teams go to Worlds because I think regional representation is good because I'm a fan of the World Cup. And remember, I am European, so I like the World Cup. But
we automatically
I like football too.
No, you're American. You're American. You're
so technically close enough to Canada.
I support Asian teams attending the World Cup. Why would I not support Western teams and Bangkok Titans attending Worlds? That's how I look at it.
See, my issue is why does NA and EU get like a 2nd and 3rd place? Why don't they just get a 2nd place? Why don't the number 2 teams from NA EU get seeded into the 3rd pool until they can prove themselves and put in more Chinese and Korean talent?
That's a legitimate point, actually. I've just remembered. Let's give a rant here, right? Okay. Why does Riot, like, first off, they give like a wild card spot effectively to the 3rd and from EU and the 3rd from NA, effectively saying that we know these regions are weaker than China. So first off, how come the 3rd place Korean team is ranked the same as the 2nd place Korean team, but the 3rd place NA team, even though they have the same qualification bracket and they all have a gauntlet and that kind of thing, like the point of like the gauntlet should be you've made it to Worlds. And that's going to be really fucking difficult for you to get out of groups because you're considered the shit team in your groups. You don't even have that shit team to beat on. So Korean and Chinese teams actually have the hardest way of getting out of groups, and especially Taiwanese teams, you don't even get that third seed. When does the committee of Riot overlook NA and go, I think we need to take that third seed off NA and give it to Taiwan? That's never going to happen. But there should be some kind of, like, I feel like they should introduce that thing that the international had, where they have they should put the third place team from or should put, I don't know, there should be some kind of way
play in.
Yeah, so you should either
the last chance qualifier.
Yeah, you should either not have pool 3, because that's not. I don't think pool 3 actually leads to an interesting group stage. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I'll have to run the numbers and stuff, or run the scenarios even. I'm not.
I think OG is the only team that has been in pool 3 because this is the second year that
and
OG is the only team that's come in pool 3 that's been like, oh, they'll do something.
And the only reason that is because they only had one season. Well, they only participated in one split.
They would have been
They couldn't win on circuit points, so you have to go for the win the other way.
Fnatic is still the best in EU, so
yeah. But whatever. I don't understand why Riot intentionally tries to make out that UNA are really competitive, but then puts their weakest teams into pool 3 on the same level as wildcard teams. That's really bizarre for me. But whatever, Riot. I don't understand your methods a lot of the time. I'll get whatever. Anyone else have thoughts on that?
I'll say Wildhawk, who was on a previous episode, I have no idea what number, sent out a tweet of what his top 16 ranked, and I was like, I'm sorry, according to all seedings, they're ranked this way, because you can only take the first seed, and they all are the top 4, and you can order them how you want, and the next group. So I'm sorry, but CLG is better than EDG, IG, KT, KOO, H. It's just all of these teams you can continue to list. It's technically, according to seeding, they're better than them.
They just want interesting groups, but it's not happening in their
It's not
system.
the way to do it.
So, moving on to KOO Tigers, who are really quite an interesting teams when you think about group stage formatting, stuff like that. It's based on what teams could upset KOO Tigers and what teams they'll roll over. The best case scenario for KOO Tigers, as in will give you the most entertaining games, I think, is if they got CLG in pool 1. Because I think that CLG versus KOO Tigers would actually be a really interesting matchup because they play the game in quite a similar way. But I think that
KOO plays it better.
KOO plays it better and would expose CLG's flaws better than any other team in Pool 2 would do, I think. The actual deep-ridden flaws. Not the flaw of, we're just going to stomp over you in the first 10 minutes because we've got Cacao in the jungle or whatever, he's going to wreck Smith's life. No, I mean the actual flaws as in, these are the flaws of, your game can go how you want it to and you still lose. That's where your flaws have actually been exposed, for me. When everything goes right and you still lose, that's when you need to look at it and go, that's how we fucked up, in my opinion. That's just a thematic thing.
See, I would be more interested in Fnatic, KOO, and IG.
But
I don't give a shit about the third pool, but I think that'd be very interesting because it would put a lot of pressure on KOO to do what they do, which is survive the first 15 minutes and then destroy you in mid-game. And that would really show issues with both, I think, IG and Fnatic, where they have not the greatest mid-game.
Yeah,
I think that'd be very great storyline for KOO, being look at him take the #1 seed from that group after having to fend off the berserkers of the early game.
I think Fnatic's early game is their weak point, not their mid game, personally.
Yeah, it is actually their early game, but by that time they can't even win in mid game anymore.
My issue is they either usually, from watching them in Europe, I guess their mid game is probably a bit weaker, but it's made up by the fact that they can just raffle stomp people so hard in the early game, is that if they don't really get a win in the early in the season, they kind of struggle to fall in behind, and then later game they were able to basically turn around the win, because there was the one game against H2K and one game against Origin where you could see that, and the finals. There's so few games where you've seen Fnatic really tested mid game outside of the Origin final, the actual final. But I kind of want to see them go head to head with them. I think it'd be interesting to see KOO come out, because Fnatic is this huge team. They're the best, and I think it'd be interesting.
I think if KOO played either one of the Western teams in Pool 1, it would be interesting. But I think the other thing, and I think that definitely KOO Tigers, I think KOO Tigers is the team I most want to see play Western teams, because for me, that's that. I want to see them play a full best of 5 against a Chinese team. I don't want to see that in like a 1 or 2 kind of game blowout kind of thing. So I think if you had like Ku versus like CLG and then H2K in the same group as Ku, that would be where Ku Tigers would be able to shine. But Ku's their best case scenario, group scenario, them getting out of groups in first place, like clear uncontested. But that would also, for me, really be interesting in terms, because those are the 2 teams in their respective regions that are meant to play this kind of macro intensive game, and I think that would be the most like for me, that would be what would get me going.
That could work. Yeah, that would work too. So, yeah, definitely work.
So it would be like Ku versus the West. You know what I mean? And then you just like put in Pain or whatever, because like you've already used up your 2 interesting pool 3 seeds.
Well, there's only one interesting pool seed, so I mean I don't give a shit about the other ones. Unless you can put Origin in the group, I don't give a fuck about who goes in there. They're just gonna lose.
The worst case scenario group for Ku Tigers, as in the one that they potentially might not make it out of, is LGD. As well, I don't know. You could still put like SKT or you could still put Fnatic or CLG as. Well, I suppose once you do that,
Ku can always get out of groups.
The only chance I think Ku can't make it is Fnatic, EDG, Ku. That would be I would say, toughest one for them. I still see them getting out, but I would say that's the only
toughest. That's for sure the toughest.
Because if you put them into a group with a first place LGD or SKT, I don't see them lose. The only Western team I see competitive, Fnatic.
Yeah. So
and even then, it's.
I see the top 8 in my mind. If I is LGD, SK is the Chinese, Korean, Fnatic, and HQ.
Yeah.
Those are my top 8.
I suppose you could legitimately put LGD as the pool 1 seed. This would be the West don't give a fuck group, I would call it. So you'd put LGD as the pool 1 seed, AHQ and Ku Tigers, and then like whoever, like it doesn't really matter. Bangkok or whatever.
So that would prevent the West from watching that.
Yeah, like that group wouldn't be watched by Western fans. I'd watch it, but
that would be a fucking madhouse group. That would be
exactly.
Really crazy.
And you'd see so much going on. I think that would be a nightmare scenario group for Ku, but that would also be a really interesting group. That for me is the group that I would like. I'd still predict them to get out because I still think they're better than HQ.
HQ is not going to be such a problem.
The nightmare scenario for any Korean, Chinese, or specific. Okay, and the nightmare group for HQ is to be in a group where there's a Chinese and Korean team like they were last year. Because if there is, they're not getting out. If there isn't, not saying they're not. They'd have a very uphill. And if they got out with a Chinese team in their group, it would be crazy.
Yeah,
if there's only one, I would say they have over 60%, 70 maybe % chance of getting out.
Yeah, but
out with only one Korean or Chinese team in there.
Unless that team is Fnatic, at which point it's dead even 50-50, I would say.
It's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot closer because the Huni matchup is not.
Yeah, Huni versus Ziv, like you can, Huni, like that's a matchup that Huni can carry from. At which point Fnatic can reach their win conditions.
Yeah. That would be a really difficult one, but
like I mean, anyone who thinks Huni's not going to be informed for this World Championships, just get out. He's like, this is his moment. You know what I mean? Like he's been talking about this for the entire year. So don't base him off one bad best of 5. It wasn't even that bad as well. I've seen Dyrus play much worse best of 5s last week. So difference being is people don't expect Dyrus to carry. Like when he won with that Olaf, he played Olaf against a team that has one threat. Stop having your mind be blown. He just went to the one damage threat, killed it, and then that's all he could. That's all he needed to do. Yeah. Where with Huni, it's expected for him to carry, and if he doesn't carry in the method and the way he had before, people are like they lose their fucking mind.
He doesn't have to though, because Fab and Heracles actually do more of the work.
Yeah, they have so many other carries, but honestly, their carries are the mid, top, and jungle, and Reckless can carry every so often.
Yeah,
but their main carries are the top side of the map.
That's true.
So, and then when you move on to KT, for KT, it's slightly different because I mean, obviously there's that they don't get a Western team in the group, whatever. But for KT, the group I really want to see them in is I really want to see them up against, like say for example you put KT up against Fnatic, and then like the group of Fnatic and then like IG, for example. I think that would be a group that would be really interesting for KT. Because not only that would be like Kakao and Rookie versus their old team. So like you'd have the same thing where it'd be like who made the actual better decision out of those players? Was it better to leave and go to China, or was it better to stay on KT roster? You know what I mean? Like, because Kakao and Rookie were the first players in Korea to leave Korea for a top Chinese team. Outside, I mean, it was KT's players really were the first to leave because you had In-Second Zero before that. But that's for me is like the big kind of, you know, KT are in Worlds for the first time ever, and it's been without Rookie and Kakao. But did they ever need them actually? You know, like are Kakao and Rookie better off without KT or better off with KT? Who knows? Like,
I would say I would take them back in a heartbeat because they're so good.
I would too. Like, I think there'd be a definite upgrade over Score and Nagne, even though I think Score and Nagne are pretty good players. They're pretty, you know, they're whatever. They're not the carrier of the threat, but that'd be like Someday versus old teammates as well. You know, that's the KT Arrows reunion.
Yeah.
Arrow and Someday versus Kakao and Rookie. It's like the role players versus the carries. Now the role players want to step up to be the carries of KT, but
Arrow, carry.
They're supposed to. He carries sometimes, but it's not as elegant.
I had a thought the other day as well. Let's check this out. KT Arrows, if they'd recruited Peekaboo when they originally could have done, onto the KT Arrows. So KT Arrows have taken the Zenix bot lane that was Arrow and Peekaboo hadn't like disappeared for like a year to go do elo boosting. That would have legitimately been that team. I think would have actually made it to Worlds.
That would have been disgusting.
Because I think that not only would they have beaten Blaze in that original best of 5 that they had in OGN Spring, but they would have actually. I don't think they would have like fallen in the gauntlet in the same way they did to Najin WTF. Not that I don't think Najin WTF weren't very good in that gauntlet, because they were all right about that.
Holy shit, they were good. Yeah.
But that would have been like a legitimately, you know, that KT Arrows I think would have made it to Worlds. So, and that would have solved the KT Arrows conundrum if you would have had the brains of Peekaboo on that team, and that would have made it like pure filth. That team.
Not even just the brains. It's just removing
Johnny.
Removing the face check master himself.
Yeah, removing Hachani.
He could personally throw a game. I mean, Arrow is not the greatest, but Hachani was able to single-handedly end their... And to the point where fucking Kakao had to sit in a bush for a minute and a half and surprise freaking... Was it Deft or... was it Deft or Dada he surprised? And just fucking destroy him with Nocturne. It was like, well... Good game. Did not think you would be in that fucking bush. We had everything worded around it except for that bush. And you just walk out and just tear me a new asshole and be like, well, we won the game off of that.
Yeah. So I think that would be the most thematically introduced, exciting group that KT could have.
I actually would like to see LGD, KT, Origin, and HQ, because I think that would be like
that'd be a fucking tough group.
That would just be a group where you just go ham like every game. I just feel like they would really try and kill each other. Fuck them. It'd be good. Also, like some good top lane. Well, except for HQ then, but.
I think I want to see KT play Chinese teams in a best of 1 more than I want to see Ku Tigers play Chinese teams in a best of 1.
Yeah.
I want to see Ku play Western teams.
Yeah.
More than I want to see KT play Western.
I want to see Ku go off against a Chinese team in a best of 5. I want to see that more than anything. Like I really want QG to make it to Worlds, because QG versus Ku Tigers is one of my like all time. Like I've been thinking about this best of 5 for so long, and I don't get to see it now. Thanks, Kakao. Like that would have been like the boys in black versus the you know, and well no, not boys in black Ku Tigers, they're like the boys in blue now, I guess. Like the fashionistas of Korea versus like the other fashionistas of China with their crazy hair. Like, that would have been like, that would have gone off, I think, in that series. And that would be for me a legitimately good series. But I do think KT and now are the team I most want to see play Chinese teams in a group stages.
Yeah,
I want to see them. I want to see like if any team has to get LGD in as pool 1, that's the team I want to get. I want to see meet them in pool 1, because I think KT have actually a chance of getting top in that group. It all depends how they go into it. You know what I mean?
See, so just like we agreed, OG is the hardest in pool 3. Do we all think CLG is the weakest in pool 1?
Yeah.
Maybe people will call me an NA hater, but based on North America's display over this year, I think that North American teams, like, I think that when you're trying to rank, like, if you're ranking regions right now, North America is the weakest region of the 5 major ones, not counting wildcard. Still have that over them. And I also think that, like, but Yoey Flash Wolves, I think aren't great. So, especially with NL, but you know what? I'm not looking forward to watching NL for a whole year. I hope they bench him. I think they did, and then they brought him back. Really,
they did. They brought him back for for the regionals.
I think it's better for their synergy or something. It worked for them, I guess. But I think that, like, so the nightmare scenario for any North American team is almost like a North American team has to get the best group draw possible. Like, I think CLG's group draw is almost fucked because they're pool 1. Like, because there's such a low chance of them. Like, what's CLG's chance of getting out of group? They get themselves. They get, like, I mean, I suppose they can take one Chinese, but they have a chance of getting a Chinese and a Korean team in groups, like, straight off the bat. You know what I mean?
The CLG dream group would be either like a Chinese or Korean team for the pool 2, Yoi, and a random non-order.
I mean, they can get HUK. That's still easier.
And the problem with being an NA team at Worlds is that you have have to face the possibility there's not another North American team in your bracket, and it's not another team in your group. That's so you're already fucked. Like, you know what I mean? That's already a free win that you've thrown out of there. Like, for any other region is hoping for a North American team.
I mean, I'm looking at it.
You're the North American team.
Shaji in pool 2 has 5 out of 7. That is pretty much guaranteed gonna beat him. I mean, I can't definitely say HUK.
Well, they can't get TSM.
Yeah, I'd say 5 out of 7 because normally you have 8.
I don't know. I mean, I could still see H2K and Flash Wolves playing decent games against them.
Yeah, HUK I can. But I don't know Flash Wolves.
I think the reason why CLG would want Flash Wolves is because of how bad the disparity would be in the bot lane. Because while Swordart is a very good support player,
he doesn't have the same AD carry.
He does not have a good AD carry by him. He does not. Like, NL might be the worst AD carry in pool 2. Like, and that's with Wild Turtle. Then you know what I mean. Like, that's
God, yeah. That says a lot.
Like, if you think Wild Turtle's bad, try watching a Sword Art series. Like, no, sorry, watching an NL series. He's called Never Lose. It's the most fucking ironic name ever since TSM Amazing.
Shit.
Yeah. So are we good with this? Because then I have one question before we conclude.
So, go for it.
Sure.
What do you guys think is the most stacked position, and what do you think the least stacked position is? I mean, obviously, I think we could agree. Jungle looks like it's the most dog shit.
It's easy.
I mean, when your best jungling talent in the entire thing is Kakao, Bengi, and Clearlove, I would say are your 3 best junglers. It's hurting because you've got Bengi in there. I mean, Clearlove, people can argue with what they want. He's very, I would say, divisive when it comes to what people think about him. But if you're including Bengi is clearly just a very, very supportive jungler, and he does what he needs to do. But he's supportive.
2016 has really been the year of like role-playing junglers. So most teams have operated with a jungler. There's a role player for the team. Has acted like a ward bot. Has supported solo lane. It's been the year of big solo lane carries. So I think that like Kakao is the legit only carry jungler world. Like, he's like the last of the carry junglers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's in the position Save was last time. He's the last of the carries of his role. Like, you know, he's legitimately, you know, he's heads and shoulders above all the other junglers at Worlds. But then you have to look at the players he's got around him. Like, you know,
it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah,
no way.
There's a reason. Like, I mean, there were a couple. Like, I mean, if QG made it to Worlds instead of IG, we'd be saying the same thing about Swift. But Swift is a more less complete player than Kakao. Kakao's like a legitimately, you know, really complete and well-rounded player, I think. So, I mean, this is the problem when you buy all the great Korean carry junglers and put them on shit teams and then stick them in top lane China. You actually don't get that many great junglers at Worlds. Thanks for that.
Yeah, and Spirit, Swift, and Dandy all fucking taking it
and like
for lots of money.
So, like, I mean, even if you just look at the top ranked seeds, TBQ, Bengi, Rainover, and Xmithy are all role-playing junglers. They all play a role in their team. And while they fit their team well, it's not like you put them onto another team, they're going to be the star of that team. Like, you know. And then even Clearlove on EDG, he is a role player for his team. I mean, he's had games where he's gone off, and he's had games where he's looked legitimately good. But his strength is his team fighting. Like, that's his strength. Like,
I think his strength is also like knowing where he should be on the he is very pivotal in their wins, but I don't think he is the carry of the wins.
You can't be the carry of your wins when you've got fucking Deft on your team, mate. Like, EDG operate in the same way that SKT does. They just EDG's big carry is Deft. SKT's big carry is Faker. And their junglers play a very similar role, actually. I think Bengi and Clearlove are actually pretty similar players, except Clearlove ganks more than Bengi, and Bengi wards more. I think that's the big difference. Bang and Pawn actually operate a very similar role in their respective teams in how they support the other player to allow them to carry. The prioritization they take in the draft.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Clearlove is pretty divisive when it comes to like the West versus the East thinking. I just think he gets a lot of shit undeservedly, but it's still clearly the worst level of like. There's just no talent there.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think the best talent pool we have? Because I think it's top lane.
Well, I was looking over top laners real quickly.
I think Acorn, Flame, Huni, Odoamne, Koro, Someday, Smeb, Soaz, and
Spartan as well.
To an extent you've got Zion Spartan, and Zatai isn't the greatest, but he's not bad. He's been coming into his own. He's still making some bad mistakes, but
I think ZZ Tai is just as good as Odoamne. The problem is ZZ Tai has a lot more expectations placed on him because
in a harder region.
Yeah, he's in a harder region, and he plays with better players, so it's more difficult for him to shine. No, I can see where you're coming from in top lane, but it's the same old story for me. Like, it's still mid lane. Like, that's still where the star players are located.
I don't fucking count mid lane.
I mean, I suppose, yeah, like, it's always mid lane, you know what I mean? It's always Faker and his friends and the people. It's always Faker and his rivals, basically. Like, last year, the rivals went mental and he wasn't there. This year, he's back. He's back to reclaim his throne. He's back to destroy the pawns and the Forbivens who've defeated him in the past. He's got a chip on his shoulder and he's back, motherfuckers.
Yeah, but I mean, I fucking hate mid lane.
I mean,
only lane that's been able to carry 4 or 5 seasons.
It is true that when you look at the top lane talent in Season 4 Worlds and the top lane talent in Season 5 Worlds, it's a huge 180. Because carry top lane is actually a legitimate thing now. It's not just done by weird mavericks like Save and Good Going. It's actually like done by it's a legitimate strategy because of how top laners have learned to use teleport to their advantage. Like, Samsung were the first team to start using teleport properly, and they used it in a very supportive second jungler style. Now, top laners use teleport in order to allow them to farm up to maximum ability and then provide maximum teamfight pressure based on their use of teleport. They also learn how to get kill pressure in the lane while still using teleport as well. That's been legitimately exciting.
We also have to see what, well, we don't know 5.18 yet. All the new items really benefit top lane a fuck ton, so... And it changes, so we're gonna see a lot of carry top laners. They're never gonna nerf everything, and yeah, top lane is a big pool, and those players are gonna have to step up for their team.
I hope Darius gets his nuts cut off.
I hope
fuck that champion.
I just hope Mordekaiser gets ripped apart. That's the champion I want to see.
Holy shit!
I
watched a game.
have no idea what Mordekaiser is gonna do at Worlds right now.
This is so anecdotal evidence, and anecdotal evidence is not any kind of helpful thing, but I saw a game of like the Korean player or the Western players playing in Korea with a Mordekaiser who got the first dragon, tore down mid lane, and got both turrets, and then the second dragon took the inhibitor turret, took the inhibitor, and then pushed to win in 15 minutes. Is like, wow, that really that was the first time I really saw him play, and I was like, holy fuck! Not only is it amazing at wave clear, and like at early levels, it's so hard to wave clear against it because you can just like he does AoE damage and just fucking kills all the minions, and then he can push the turret and you can't engage because it's like he is better than the turret does when it comes to damage, and it was just like watching. It was like, holy fuck, this is insane. Like, I'm so glad I've not had to see that.
Mordekaiser is... Wow. Since he's the only one that does what he does, it's most likely just going to be permanent Worlds. And then we're still going to refine a top lane. Because let any team have Mordekaiser, the fuck enemy team is going to have... Like, it has a specific strat prepared just to make sure they have constant dragon pressure and not let him 2v2.
He gets so far ahead.
At this rate, Mordekaiser will be in this world what Alistar was in last Worlds, which is like a permanent pick ban.
Bye.
Yeah, you can't let that thing through. Like, it's so horrendous. Like, and if an any carry can't play Mordekaiser, it's going to fuck up their draft so badly, so badly.
that's the weird thing that is slightly enticing to hope that it stays. Maybe not as overpowered as it is now, but stays, is because it is such a different way of playing AD carry. Is that you can see
instead of it's not an AD carry.
Yeah, but I mean, like, instead, because we've seen AD carries. You can play Vayne, you can play Callisto, you can play all these other ones. This is like a complete. You have to change how you're thinking about the game. It completely upends the role.
It's so weird for AD carries.
And it's the only champion that does that in that role.
I would be fine with Mordekaiser if they removed his ability to make a ghost off the dragon and removed the fact that he gets he always gets full experience
Double
even
XP.
in lane. Yeah, double XP when he's in lane.
You get full experience. That's the point.
Yeah, he gets full experience even when
like,
with a
it's
duo
like
partner.
he's in the solo lane. That's the point.
Yeah.
Remove his solo lane passive and his solo and a duo lane passive, and remove his dragon ghost. If you remove both those, I'd actually be okay with Mordekaiser, I think.
If you do that, though, I don't see him getting play then.
No, because you can't play him in the solo lane.
So.
Even if, because your W only works on champions, on allied champions, and your ultimate. So
it doesn't work on minions anymore.
No, that's the point. The W.
Wow, that really blows.
The W is a useless ability unless you have a friend with you, because you also only get extra damage if you connect them together. If they overlap, then it does bonus damage. And so you have to play with another champion. That's the whole fucking point about Mordekaiser. That's why you have to play in bot lane, because you play solo lane, you literally only have 2 abilities and your ult. So.
I guess that doesn't really matter because you could just get lane swapped against. So I mean,
but that's the point. You have to try and get a 2v2. That's the point. But even then, you will still get full experience as long as your support's next to you. You will still out experience the enemy team.
Yeah, I just. The ability to lane swap is so crazy.
I can see what you mean, because the idea is if you lane swap, then if the enemy support player wants to gain the benefit of Mordekaiser's passive by sitting in lane with you and allow Mordekaiser to do his thing by putting the W on you and that kind of thing in the lane swap scenario, then the idea is your support player just roams around and creates havoc around the map, Gorilla or Pickaboo style. But you know what I mean? That still creates too many problems. So yeah, I think like Mordekaiser needs to be gutted for Worlds. Or just not picked at all because he'll permanently be in the ban. At which point, he's a permanent disadvantage for one team.
Yep, it would be back to good old summer 2013 at Korea, where you have one ban on purple side because you have to ban TF and Jace.
God, that was awful. The TF fans. I think we're gonna see TF at Worlds. So.
I actually think that looking back at that, I think Korean teams could have tried harder to find a counter to Twitch's fate.
Yeah.
I think they were all too resigned to the idea of Twitch.
No, it's like they were so resigned to the fact that
Zed was around back then. Like if they'd been better at playing Zed, they could have just.
But it also had the point that you still gave global gold, which was dumb as fuck.
Yeah,
that
you gave global gold, and you only need like the split push potential was just too powerful.
Yeah.
I think that's it. We'll be here next week for group, talking about what the groups are and what we expect from them.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think we're good.
Cool. See you next week, everyone.
Thanks for watching.